All right, what's going on, everyone? Bryce Gelman here, kind of deviating from the normal topics with the Knicks and sometimes the Yankees. I just can't get back into it yet. I'm not too excited about the season. We're gonna get into it. There's no choice. Yankees pitchers and catchers reporting this week. Very exciting. Oh, I know this is now off topic from the topic that we're discussing today, but I just can't really get into this Yankee season. After losing Soto, it's like, okay, they made some incremental changes and their lineup looks okay, but like, are they going to beat the Dodgers? Are they good enough to beat the best teams in the AL? I think so, but are they good enough to win a World Series? I don't know. I don't know. You had more hope last year, not so much this year. But today we're going to be discussing the Aaron Rodgers-Jets news. I mean, of course, it was reported a couple days ago the Jets are going to be moving on from Aaron Rodgers. All signs point to that. Today, even more news by the listen. I don't know where the hell she gets this stuff from. She's the foremost source for Jets information, Diana Rossini, with another bombshell report that shouldn't surprise anyone. That the Jets and new head coach Aaron Glenn and new GM Darren Muji said to Aaron Rodgers, "You can't go on the Pat McAfee show anymore." Again, that shouldn't surprise anyone. I think they're done with the pomp and circumstance. I definitely just botched that. But they were done with the theatrics of Aaron Rodgers going on and making an absolute fool of himself in the organization after getting blown out. You get blown out. He goes on Pat McAfee on Tuesdays, making a fool out of the organization, making a fool out of Robert Saleh when he was the head coach. Jeff Ulbricht and Woody Johnson and just the entire organization. So they had it. This is a no-nonsense. You say it now. They're no-nonsense now. Do I have any hope that this Jets front office is going to be able to operate in a way that could bring success for the organization when the owner is Woody Johnson? No, I really don't think so. Unless the Rossini article about Brick Johnson, Woody's son, using Madden ratings and being in the locker room after games and bringing girls around, maybe what was a wake-up call for the Jets owner. I find that hard to believe after everything that we've seen over his tenure as Jets owner. I just don't know how you could say that. It's hard for any Jets fan, and I've spoken to many, to get excited about this organization. Even though they thought a lot of that stuff was untrue and false and made up, I don't really see how that could have been put out there as false information by Diana Rossini. Another report here that they didn't want him to go on McAfee. They didn't want Aaron Rodgers to go on Pat McAfee anymore, which is a very reasonable demand, but one that they had to assume wouldn't go over well with Aaron Rodgers. So now what the hell did the Jets do? Because Aaron Rodgers is due to make $37.5 million in the 2025 season. The Jets would be hit with a $49 million dead cap charge if they cut him, which would be reduced by $9.5 million, $39.5 million. It's spread over 2 seasons if they release him after June 1st, which is definitely the most likely scenario here. But when you look at the situation with the Jets, 7th overall pick in the draft, they are far out of the running when it comes to the 2 quarterbacks at the top. I think the other guys who come after that are not good enough to be taken 7th overall. So they're kind of in a limbo here with what they do with the quarterback situation. There are a few options. You got a Kirk Cousins in Atlanta who has got 3 more years on his deal. He's making a lot of money, but you presume that the Falcons would eat a lot of that money. That is a potential option. You could look at Russell Wilson. You could look at Justin Fields. There are a variety of ways in which they can go about it, or they could just, hey, you like Tyrod Taylor, 36-year-old, injury prone. Maybe that's the guy. Maybe that's the bridge quarterback. The Jets sucking in 2025, getting a top pick, maybe getting Arch Manning. For all signs point to next year being a lot better of a quarterback class than this year. Will the Jets? There's just so much in question right now with the Jets. I think they made the right decision with the hiring of Aaron Glenn, a no-nonsense guy, a guy who Dan Campbell and many on the Lions said was extremely ready to become a head coach. He's taking over the least fortunate organization in sports. And arguably the most incompetent organization in sports. It is going to be a tall task, to say the least, for Aaron Glenn to turn this organization around, to flip the culture. For Darren Muge, I got to get that right. That's going to take a while. Darren Muge, the new GM, to figure this out as well. So they're making the right decision here. You know, with going to Aaron Rodgers saying, hey, cut the crap or you're gone. Of course, Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old, he wants to, dictate his terms. Unfortunately, he did not play well enough last year for him to be able to go to an organization and dictate his terms. Last year, you're bringing in one of the greatest quarterbacks, in my opinion, the most talented quarterback to ever play the game of football, into an organization that was on a 12, 13-year playoff drought. Now it's 15. He was able to get what he wanted because Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were in a spot in which, what other choice do they have? The circumstances under which Aaron Rodgers can operate are not the same as they were in 2023 after the Achilles injury and then after what we saw last year in which he ranked 24th in QBR. And admittedly did not have the best offensive line, couldn't get his feet set half the time. Either way, didn't play well enough. Missed a lot of open throws, did not look like the Aaron Rodgers that we all have grown accustomed to seeing. So that was out of the question. With him coming back and saying, I'm going to go on McAfee, I'm going to continue, promoting conspiracy theories and crazy treatment methods for no organization in their right mind wants to deal with that. Specifically, an organization that is trying to turn around the culture. So I don't blame Aaron Glenn and Darren Muge for saying, hey, either you get it together, you get your name out of the media, and you lock in, you show up to OTAs, you participate in every activity, every team building thing that we are going to do to try to change this culture, or you can get lost. And to no one's surprise, Aaron Rodgers, it looks like, is getting lost. And again, if you're just joining now, I'm Bryce Gelman talking about the Jets and also going to get into, my thoughts on the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and, the culmination of the worst Giants season in history for us fans. But we're sticking with the Rodgers stuff, and the report today that Diana Rossini said that the Jets said, hey, listen, you're not doing McAfee. Do you want to come back? And of course, Aaron Rodgers did not want to have to abide by those terms. So now the Jets are in a difficult spot, as I said before, of what they are going to do at the quarterback position. They're not bringing Rodgers back. They've got Tyrod Taylor, who's, in my opinion, one of the best backups in the league, but he's 36 years old. Pretty injury-prone guy. So what the hell? What the hell are they going to do? If they, listen, I really don't think this is going to be the case. I do not. I'm holding out hope for this organization. I'm a Giants fan, but I want the Jets to do well. I mean, at this point, it's just like, it's a joke how bad this organization has been over the last 55 years. I've got many friends who are Jets fans who can't understand my mindset on this. I want them to succeed. I don't want this. It's terrible for the city. It's terrible for my friends. Terrible for my family who are Jets fans. I want the Jets to succeed. And the one way to ensure that you are not going to succeed is with the 7th overall pick, reaching on a quarterback like Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart, who I think, at this point are consensusly the next two guys after Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, both of whom the Jets will not end up with unless they trade up with the Titans or the Browns. And look, there is a likelihood that the Browns would be willing at 2 to trade down with the lack of resources they have. They need to draft well. Their organization is screwed after making the trade for Deshaun Watson. So maybe they look to trade down. If you trade down to 7, you presumably get much more in terms of draft capital going forward. It's not like the Giants trading up from 3 to 2. Like you're going to get a third rounder, a third and fourth rounder. You'd be lucky if you get a second. Even then, I think that's far-fetched. But with the Jets situation, they're kind of in hell. What did they do? Everyone thought with Aaron Rodgers, one of the most talented quarterbacks in NFL history, coming into the organization, that everything would be magically fixed. And in reality, he set this organization back 3 or 4 years. So what the hell did they do? It's a good thing that they sucked enough to get the 7th pick. They should have sucked even more to get a top 3 pick, but they didn't. And that's just the reality of the situation. So what the hell did they do? That's the question. Again, we mentioned it before. There are a few guys in the market. The top free agent, the Jets are familiar with him. He's the number 3 overall pick of the 2018 draft. You know him, Sam Darnold. The same guy that saw ghosts in a Jets uniform a few years back is now on the market. And after 2 horrid performances in Week 18 against the Lions, and then the next week against the Rams, he played himself out of 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars. And now, listen, you see a lot of potential offers out there, and you see his value. Am I buying that he is a 30, 40 million dollar a year quarterback? F no. You want to be a 30, 40 million dollar quarterback, you need to perform well in big situations. And quite frankly, he did not do that. And do you think the Jets really want to bring back Sam Darnold? It's like going back to that ex where it didn't work to see if maybe things are different. And guess what? They're not different. Because situations, people don't change. Sam Darnold in a Jets uniform under different management is the same Sam Darnold who was in a Jets uniform years ago. So I just don't see that. I don't foresee that being a circumstance the Jets bring about themselves. Did they bring in Russell Wilson? Did they try for another veteran? Do they take a flyer on Justin Fields? I don't know. I really don't know. Do they trade for Kirk Cousins? There are not many options on the table here. The all-in nature when it came to acquiring Aaron Rodgers has set this organization back. So, I don't know. We got CBW here. So he's one of my biggest fans. Let's put CBW. 2 to 7 gets you at least 2 other numbers. I doubt that. That's not, no. You get 1 and a second, maybe. You're not getting 2 first-rounders for that. The Jets would probably have to give a first, a second, maybe a third. I don't know about 2 firsts. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know if that's worth it, too. Yeah, so CBW says, by the way, to go from 3 to 2, the Bears gave up a second round, a 4th round, and a 3rd round the following year. That's what the Giants would have to give up to trade up to the 2nd pick. So, listen, it's a tough situation for Jets fans, their organization, and the new head coach and GM, but this was the right decision. And you see a lot of people out there, Jake Asman being one of them, who's one of the most respected guys, content creators in the Jets fan community, you could say, probably the biggest. He is very upset and angry over the Jets not bringing back Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's more of just like, you know, this is the situation you're in, deal with it. He's your best option. I just don't know what you expect with him dictating his terms with new management. I just don't know what good can come of that. You know, you get some mediocre quarterback play, you position yourself from the 10th overall pick, the 15th overall pick, you're screwed. Because then you can't be in a position to draft the quarterback that you want. So you bring in another guy. I understand this Jets roster is built to win now, but if you're built to win now and you're willing to be patient when it comes to getting the quarterback of your future, listen, that could pay its dividends. If you're built to win and you draft a quarterback into a situation and where he could thrive, he could succeed, that's a recipe for success. You saw it in Washington with Jaden Daniels. They got the right. I mean, that's the other thing. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's different when it's the Jets because you still have Woody Johnson as your owner. So how much could things realistically change? I don't know. Let's shift gears and let's talk about it. Let's talk about the worst season in Giants fan history. Worst season in Giants franchise history. That's so that ironically coincided with the 100th overall season of Giants football. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. And I don't think my reaction to it was what I expected. I expected to be devastated, beat down, depressed. I think I've suffered enough heartbreak and bullshit this entire Giants season to where I grew numb to watching the Eagles dismantle the two-time defending champion Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Something that I predicted. And a lot of people out there, Sean Morash included, my podcast co-host on One Giant Step, we did our fantasy versus reality segment at the end of the show. I gave my prediction. I said 31-14 Eagles. The Eagles are the much better team on paper, and they are going to dominate in this game. Guess what happened? The Eagles dominated. They had a blitz rate of 49%, or they had a blitz percentage of 0, a pressure rate of 49%. That's how you win against the great quarterbacks. You get to the quarterback. The Giants, what they have right now, the one thing they got going for them, they got the best defensive tackle in football. You thought Jalen Carter's good? No one touches a healthy Dexter Lawrence. They got Brian Burns, who, listen, you paid him an insane amount of money, a boatload of money. I don't think he played up to his contract this past year. And then you got Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side of the line, in which a guy, I don't know if it's going to be worth paying him the money that he wants to be paid. Taking him with the 5th overall pick back in 2022, you expected him to be a top edge rusher in the league. Listen, he's a solid player. But a guy that you take at the start of the second round, that's how talented he is. He's no top of the first round guy. He's not. And guess what? He's probably going to ask for that type of money. He's not going to get it elsewhere. I really don't think. So the jury's still out on Kayvon, but you've got Dexter Lawrence. You got Brian Burns under contract for years. The Giants win. Other teams win, but the Giants specifically win when they're built in the trenches, when they've got a dominant defensive line. The Giants are going to draft the quarterback this year. All signs point to that. All signs point to them getting Shedeur Sanders. The question will be, is the team built well enough for a rookie to come in and thrive? The secondary is garbage, utter garbage. And the defensive line wasn't healthy enough, wasn't good enough for the secondary to be exposed, to not be exposed. You saw with the Eagles in the Super Bowl, since they were able to get that level of pressure, they could sit back and cover 4. You don't have to send anyone else. You've got 7 guys in coverage, a four-man rush, getting the quarterback. That's a recipe for success for any team. And you watch that in the Super Bowl. You watch the Eagles, who are built so well, and you got to give credit to Howie Roseman. As much as I hate the fans of the Eagles, what an organization from top to bottom. And Howie Roseman leading the charge is the best GM in football, in my opinion. Built an absolute monster that I think could have only been taken down by 2 or 3 teams in the NFL. I think if it was the Bills, it would have been a much closer game. The Bills' offensive line was really solid. And it should have been the Bills. But the Chiefs were given every call, were given every single slight and advantage throughout the regular season to guarantee to lock up the number 1 seed in the AFC. How many close games did they win? 10, 11, 12? And this is what the NFL got. And this is what they deserved. A god-awful Super Bowl. An unwatchable Super Bowl. An uncompetitive Super Bowl. Because the Chiefs are not a good football team. They're a good football team. They're not a great football team. On paper, this is the worst Chiefs team to make the Super Bowl. And I said that repeatedly, time and time again, like a clown. Oh, you're just saying that because you think that the Eagles are the one. Like that's what I'm saying. And that was proven right. And I think the Bills would have been a good matchup for the Eagles. I think the Ravens could have beat the Eagles. And then one other team that I think would have wiped the floor with the Eagles were the Lions. A healthy Lions team. The Eagles lucked out. It was whatever team was going to get lucky enough with the injuries was going to make the Super Bowl. And the Lions, man, I've never seen a team decimated on the defensive end like they were. I mean, they were down to their third, fourth string guys in some positions. That's not a recipe for success. That's why you saw the upset of the Detroit Lions in the divisional round of the playoffs. The second that happened, the Eagles punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. The second the Bills lost to the Eagles, the Bills lost to the Chiefs, the Eagles solidified their spot as Super Bowl champions. It was over. I really never thought the Chiefs stood a chance against the Eagles. That defensive line, like just so well built all around. Mahomes' magic wasn't going to be enough for the Chiefs to win that game. And you saw it firsthand. And that's it. The season's over. Finally. The worst season in Giants franchise history. You win 3 games. First off, the season starts off with Hard Knocks. You got to watch all of that. And to make matters worse, how many freaking times was all that shit shared on social media? Like to remind us a million times that owner was pissed that we lost our franchise running back, which was the right decision. It was the right decision. The one screw up in all of this, which I guess is a fireable offense. I think in and of itself, it's pathetic. And it's enough to warrant insane amounts of criticism. It's the Giants not trading away Saquon Barkley when the season was lost in 2023. Not trading him not only secured those 3 straight wins with Tommy DeVito under center, but it ensured that the Eagles would be the team to pay Saquon Barkley the most amount of money for Saquon to go to the Giants' most hated rivals. If the Giants, you think the Giants would have ever traded him to the Eagles? There's no guarantee that the Giants, trading him to, let's say, the Ravens at that point, that he wouldn't have gone to the Eagles, that the Eagles wouldn't still have given him the most amount of money, but there would have been a significantly less chance and a better opportunity to trade him where you want to trade him. And of course, they didn't do that. Of course, they didn't trade him. Of course, they didn't trade Xavier McKinney, who also left in free agency. That is where they went wrong. To criticize them for not paying Saquon is asinine. That was the right decision. The wrong decision was not trading him away at the trade deadline. How idiotic could you possibly be? And he goes to the Eagles, has maybe the greatest running back season ever. I mean, this is your guy. Like, internally, you knew how good he was. You knew what he was capable of behind an offensive line that was that solid. Of course, you never built that type of offensive line in the 5-6 years he was with the Giants. And then he goes and does what he did. Adam, you know what? Let's see what Drew has to say. We've got some Eagles fans in the chat. No, it's not a rivalry. With the incompetence of John Mara, with the incompetence of this Giants organization, absolutely not. It's not a rivalry. The Eagles own us. Belt to ass every time we freaking play. Adam Chazen says, does this guy... Yes, I read the chat. Give me some time. I'm trying to get some of my points across. This is why I don't read the chat, because stupid comments like this directly led. And not the tens of picks, solid picks from Howie Roseman to build an unbelievable roster. No, it was the Kenny Golladay contract. Get lost. I'm just glad the season's over. It's over. It's over. No more BS. No more freaking John Mara posts. Oh, I'm not going to be able to get any sleep. Yeah, he got no sleep. We get it. No sleep. Well, let me check my notes. No Giants fans got any sleep as well. So thanks, John Mara. Thank you for not firing Dave Gettleman when he should have been fired, for the way that Tom Coughlin left this organization, for all the things you allowed to go wrong to get us to this point. I'm not placing this on Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. Yes, they made their mistakes. You're telling me there wasn't a message coming down from Giants ownership at the trade deadline in 2023 saying, hey, let's hold on to Saquon Barkley. He's selling tickets. We want to be able to make some money the rest of the year. You're telling me that wasn't the case? You're telling me that was a Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll decision to retain Saquon Barkley, to not get back the most amount of assets they possibly could have gotten for him and Xavier McKinney? I'm not buying it. That's a John Mara message. That's John Mara right there. And finally, I mean, it was too little too late of him getting his nose out of the Giants front office, meddling in decisions. You saw it on Hard Knocks. Even then, he was kind of putting pressure on the front office to re-sign Saquon Barkley. Oh, I'm gonna lose sleep. But he relented. And the Giants did what they had to do in the offseason. They made the right decisions. And as bad as this team looked this past year, the Giants are built correctly. And with another solid draft where you can, add to this. I think they're going to add to the secondary in free agency. You can bring in Carlton Davis. There are a few names there that can help bolster the secondary. But where I'm really looking is the depth and ensuring the Giants have serviceable options to replace the inevitably injured Andrew Thomas. Who the hell is on their defensive line besides their top three guys? Azeez Ojulari, I'd like to see him brought back. I would. You want to know who's going to bring him in if the Giants don't? It's the Eagles. And Azeez Ojulari is going to have 15 sacks. I can't see that happen again. I really can't. I don't know. I think that the Giants organization, I've said it time and time again. The best case scenario was retaining Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And we'll see what they could do. Is it going to be Shedeur? Is it going to be Travis Hunter? Whomever it may be, I could say the Giants are better set up for success than when they took over. This is a better roster. And let's see if Joe Schoen can replicate the success of last year's draft. Because if he doesn't, he's done. That's it. He's gone. It's just like, what the hell are you going to do? You got to play the Eagles twice a year. You got to play the Commanders twice a year. Cowboys are not going to suck forever. They own us as well. Just a terrible situation right now to be a Giants fan. And look at the freaking schedule next year. Look at that schedule. Look at the home schedule. You're telling me that team's going to win more than 4 or 5 games next year? I'm not buying it. And maybe if the Giants see that and they realize, hey, Shedor's off the board by 3, or if he's going to be off the board by 3, there's no point in trading up here. We've got bigger fish to fry. We take an Abdul Carter. We take a Travis Hunter. We get a top-tier guy. And we continue to build and draft the best available players. And the team's going to suck again. It's just the reality of the situation. But with where Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll are, with there now being pressure on them to win games, you're going to see them draft a quarterback here. I think if they had the 7th or 8th pick, they won a couple more games, and the Panthers game in Munich goes differently, then I think that they comfortably sit back and draft one of the best available guys, Mason Graham, get an Abdul Carter. But no, that's not the case. They might actually have some pressure now to draft a quarterback and Shedeur. And there's a lot of smoke there. There's certainly a lot of smoke. We'll see if there's fire. I think all Giants fans are hoping for the best. They want the franchise quarterback being taken on the Giants. I just hold a few concerns about having Shedeur Sanders on the Giants. What the hell is going to happen with Deion? Is Deion Sanders going to take a step back? Not stick his nose in Giants business? Who the hell knows? But the way this organization is currently, the structure, it couldn't survive something like that. It couldn't. So I hold out hope that this goes as smoothly as possible. The Giants get the guy they want. And then you don't have to deal with whatever BS comes your way from Deion Sanders if it is going to be Shedeur at the top of the draft. All right, that'll do it for today's live stream. I'm actually going to be live later on today previewing and doing a pregame show on Knicks Pacers tonight, a big game in Indiana at 7:30, huge game for the Knicks. So stay tuned for that. I'll tweet that link out before we go live, and I'll be live around 7 o'clock, leading you up until tip-off. We know with the NBA and how that works that you probably won't get a tip-off until 7:45, so maybe we go right up until tip-off. We'll see. But stay tuned for that. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in today. If you liked what you heard, if you're on YouTube, which I don't think anyone is, no one ever is. But if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you want to call it, give me a follow. And I will talk to you all very soon. Thanks.